It happened in a single night, a night so quiet that no one in Jerusalem understood what had taken place until dawn. No armies marched, no swords clashed, no warnings echoed from the walls. Yet when the sun rose, the most feared military force of its age was already gone, swallowed by silence. To grasp the weight of that night, you must first understand the empire that stood outside Jerusalem's gates. Assyria was the iron fist of the ancient world, brutal, disciplined, unstoppable. Its kings carved their victories into stone, boasting of cities burned, kings humiliated, and nations erased from memory. Assyrian armies were more than soldiers. They were a system of terror. Chariots covered in iron, archers trained from childhood, infantry hardened by endless conquest. Where they marched, smoke and silence followed. Most nations surrendered before the first arrow even flew. Now this unstoppable machine had halted in front of a small hilltop city, Jerusalem. To Assyria, it was a mere obstacle. To Jerusalem, it was a death sentence. Their walls were old, their army small, their hope fading with every torch in the enemy camp. The Assyrians didn't rely on force alone. They attacked with words. Messengers shouted insults toward the walls of Jerusalem. "No God has ever saved a nation from us," they boasted. "Your God will not save you either." Their strategy was simple. Break the spirit so the city would fall without a fight. Inside Jerusalem, fear spread like fire. Families gathered in small rooms, whispering prayers through trembling breaths. Soldiers stood watch, their eyes fixed on the sea of tents below, each flame a reminder of the overwhelming force surrounding them. Every heart repeated the same truth: we cannot win. From the walls, the Assyrian camp looked endless. A second city built overnight, 185,000 soldiers, tents arranged with military precision, weapons stacked beside them. At night, thousands of campfires glowed like stars fallen to earth, reminding Jerusalem how small it truly was. Hezekiah, king of Judah, saw what everyone saw: the hopeless numbers, the certain defeat. He had tried alliances, diplomacy, even paying tribute, but nothing had stopped Assyria's advance. Human strength had reached its limit. There was only one place left to turn. Hezekiah entered the temple, a quiet sanctuary far removed from the noise outside. There he spread out the threatening letter from Assyria before God. His prayer wasn't polished or grand. It was raw, desperate, real. "Lord, only you can save us. Show the nations who truly rules." Through the prophet Isaiah, a reply came. Not a plan of escape, not a promise of reinforcements, but a declaration. God had heard the insults of the Assyrian king, had seen the arrogance behind their threats, and announced that Assyria would not enter Jerusalem. To many, this sounded impossible. How could faith stand against an empire of iron? The enemy was visible, overwhelming, certain. The promise was invisible, resting only on trust. Jerusalem had to decide which reality to believe: fear or faith. Night fell over the valley again. Assyrian soldiers relaxed, confident victory was within reach. They sharpened blades, told stories, and mocked the God of Jerusalem. They believed tomorrow would bring another easy conquest. They had no idea that this night would be their last. Somewhere beyond human sight, a presence descended. No chariot of fire, no thunder splitting the sky, just the quiet arrival of an angel of the Lord. He stepped into the Assyrian camp with authority that needed no announcement and no weapon forged by men. Scripture does not describe the angel's form, no details of glowing wings or radiant garments. All we are told is what followed his arrival. He moved through the camp like an unseen wind, a presence felt only in the silence that remained. Tents stood still. Guards stared into the night, never sensing what walked past them. The angel's work was not loud. It was not chaotic. It was precise, absolute, final. The greatest army of its age closed its eyes in confidence and never opened them again. At sunrise, Jerusalem's watchmen looked out. They expected movement, formations, shouts of preparation. Instead, they saw stillness. A stillness so complete that it chilled the blood. The valley that once pulsed with life was now silent as stone. Cautious scouts descended toward the Assyrian camp. Every step felt dangerous, as if the enemy might rise at any moment. But as they walked, the truth became clear. Weapons untouched, armor undisturbed, bodies lying where they slept. The army had not fought, it had simply stopped. There was no disease that could work so swiftly, no strategy Jerusalem possessed that could explain this. The victory belonged to no human hand. It was divine intervention, a moment where heaven stepped into history with a power beyond armies, beyond kings, beyond all earthly strength. Far away, news reached King Sennacherib. The man who mocked God, who trusted in iron and terror, returned to Assyria in shame. His pride shattered, his confidence broken, and not long after, he was killed by his own sons in the temple of his God, a king undone by his arrogance. For Jerusalem, that night rewrote their future. They had done nothing to earn such a victory. They had not outfought or outplanned the enemy. Their only act was a prayer, a desperate cry for help answered by a power greater than any empire. This story is more than ancient history. It is a mirror held up to every generation. Empires rise and fall, nations boast of strength, only to crumble in a moment. Pride walks confidently until the ground beneath it gives way. The night Assyria fell is a warning written in silence. It is also a message for anyone who feels surrounded. Your enemies may not be armies, but fear, failure, debt, or despair. Like Jerusalem, you may see no path forward. But God specializes in moments where human strength ends. When the night feels darkest, He is often already moving in ways you cannot see. Prayer does not always bring instant rescue. Some battles last, some seasons break us. But this story reminds us that God sees pride, hears prayer, and sometimes intervenes with a force that reshapes the course of history. Jerusalem's hope is still our hope today. Let's delve deeper into the historical context. The Assyrian siege of Jerusalem around 701 BC was not an isolated event, but the culmination of decades of Assyrian expansion. King Sennacherib had already conquered most of Judah, capturing 46 fortified cities and countless villages. Hezekiah's kingdom was reduced to little more than the city walls of Jerusalem. This historical detail underscores the sheer impossibility of their situation. The city was isolated, starved, and surrounded by a force that had never known defeat. The arrogance of Sennacherib was legendary. His inscriptions found in Nineveh boast of shutting up Hezekiah like a bird in a cage. This wasn't just military might, it was psychological warfare. The Assyrian general, the Rabshakeh, spoke in Hebrew to the people on the wall, deliberately bypassing the king's officials. He aimed to sow discord and panic, claiming that Hezekiah's reliance on God was a foolish delusion. This direct challenge to their faith was the final straw that led Hezekiah to his desperate prayer. Consider the prophet Isaiah's role. He was the voice of calm and assurance in a city gripped by terror. While politicians scrambled for Egyptian alliances and military men prepared for a futile defense, Isaiah delivered a message of stillness. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. This was a radical call to passive faith, a complete rejection of conventional wisdom. His prophecy was not just about the outcome, but about how the outcome would be achieved, by divine action, not human effort. The nature of the threat was existential. Assyria's policy was not just conquest, but complete cultural erasure. They would deport the population, mix them with other conquered peoples, and destroy their national identity. If Jerusalem fell, the lineage of David, the temple worship, and the very memory of the covenant would be at risk. The fate of the entire biblical narrative, leading ultimately to the Messiah, hung in the balance on that one night. This was a battle for the soul of a nation. The silence of the night is the most powerful element. Imagine the sensory experience of the Assyrian camp, the smell of cooking fires, the low murmur of 185,000 men, the clanking of armor, the neighing of horses. Then total, unnatural silence. The angel's action was a surgical strike against the heart of the empire's power. It wasn't a messy battle, it was a divine judgment, executed with absolute efficiency. The silence itself became the loudest testimony to God's power. The aftermath was a profound theological statement. The Assyrians were the ultimate symbol of human power and self-reliance. Their defeat, without a single sword raised by the enemy, demonstrated that the true power in the universe was not found in chariots or archers, but in the unseen hand of God. This event became a cornerstone of Jewish faith, a historical anchor proving that God was not merely a local deity, but the sovereign ruler over all nations and empires. No sword saved Jerusalem, no strategy, no alliance, just faith and a single angel sent into the darkness. If you want more stories where history and the unseen collide, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapter in the ancient war between heaven and earth.